What's going on, everyone? Hope you're having a nice Elden Ring. I know I sure am. And today I'm actually going to be talking about invasions. Recently, I've been doing a lot of invasions, kind of prepping for some PvP content on the channel. But in doing so, I've gotten a lot more experience with how invasions work in this game and what the system is like and what everything is all about. And many people have been coming forward describing their sort of negative opinions with the invasion system, just online in general in this game. And this video is basically going to be that, except I'm also going to provide some fixes. Not to say other people aren't providing fixes, but I'm going to be tackling what I think is one of the biggest issues with invasions, and pretty much always has been a huge issue with invasions ever since From Software ever introduced the system, and that's incentive for invasions. Now, there's a lot of other problems with invasions right now, and really just the online in general. One of the biggest problems in the game right now is the fact that the servers are pretty much dog shit. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The netcode is about what you'd expect from a From Software game. It's about the same as Dark Souls 3's netcode. However, really the kicker is that the server stability is so much worse in this game. And this applies to both PvP, cooperative play, pretty much any online activity. These servers are they're just not there, man. Like, half the time you invade someone in this game, you're invading into like a disconnected host, or you invade in, it's like connection lost, can't connect. And even if you do get in, about 50% of your invasions, 40% maybe, probably not as high as 50%, but a lot of them definitely you just randomly get disconnected from. And this applies to PvE as well, or cooperative play, I should say. Plenty of people have already talked about this at Length's End, getting constantly disconnected, not being able to constantly having to resummon people for cooperative play, and it's just a very annoying time, and it is very annoying even on the invasion side of things, as you want to just keep playing the game. Obviously, you want to keep going, you want to learn from your mistakes and get better, but a little hard sometimes when the game is constantly throwing you into disconnections and server issues and all sorts of other things. So definitely something that From Software needs to work on. Perhaps the community should put more pressure on them to get this sort of thing sorted, because Elden Ring definitely has a lot of budget behind it, clearly, and pretty much a AAA game at this point. So I definitely don't think the server state is that of the quality of a AAA game right now. So that is just an objective issue out of the way, without a doubt, and I don't really have a fix for it. Obviously, that's just a problem everyone's been having, and it's just we have to wait for From Software to obviously update these things. But earlier, the problem I'm going to talk about is invasion incentive. Many people have expressed in this game that they feel invasions aren't going to be as popular for multiple reasons. For starters, they've updated the system with invasions in this game, and now players can only invade hosts who have phantoms summoned into your world. So you can only open yourself to invasions in this game if you summon other players, unless you use an item called the Taunter's Tongue, which allows you to be invaded when you're by yourself, among some other things. But mostly, summoning other players is going to cause you to get invaded. Already, many people dislike doing multiple group fights, or ganks, as some people lazily label them as they're not really true ganks, but it is you versus multiple people, so it is technically a gank to some degree. But that's a discussion for a whole nother day. Regardless, though, many people don't like getting into these sort of multi-fight scenarios. I personally don't mind it. Many players who just don't want to deal with invasions are just going to wait till they get to the boss room to summon players in. I don't think that's always going to be the case, but regardless, many people feel that there is going to be an issue having invasions be a system in this game that is used. And I think this has pretty much always been an issue in Souls games, not even just Elden Ring. Granted, this may have been brought up more in discussion now with the new update to the system that I just described, but this has pretty much always been a problem in From Software games. There is really no reason to ever engage in the invasion system in these games unless you want to. Pretty much anyone who's engaging in the invasion system is people who want to do it, that just have fun doing it and are just getting into it because they've been into it from before or are interested in it or just think it's fun. That's the only reason. There is no other incentive, no other achievement for doing invasions ever. Even in older From Software games, there was more incentive than in this game. They've actually downgraded in this game. Before, there used to be covenants, obviously, that were some of you are very familiar with. For those who Elden Ring is their first game, there basically used to be guilds in Souls games that you could join that would have varying rewards. Sometimes these guilds would end up being PvP guilds. They were called covenants, though, I should say. But they were basically guilds, like an RPG guild. And these covenants would have special rewards. Oftentimes, you would obtain the reward through PvP. And it was very cool. It was a neat way to definitely hunt for some of the achievements in the game, get some cool spells, items, rings, and all sorts of other things. But even that was pretty lackluster in terms of actual incentive. As it stands currently, invaders pretty much get nothing for invasions. You get 2 rewards for defeating a host. That is a Furl Calling Finger Remedy, which the Furl Calling Finger Remedy you probably have tons of if you play through the game, as they're a pretty normal drop, I think, throughout the lands between. You can find them on just littered through bodies everywhere. And additionally, you can craft them with an extremely easily obtainable item. So even if you don't have any, they're super easy to craft just without having to go through the pain of doing an invasion. So already that's not that great of a reward, and it also doesn't even help you with, future invasions. It's just exclusively a tool for cooperation. The other reward you get is a rune arc, and rune arcs are basically this game's version of humanity, human effigies, embers, whatever you want to call it. And that's whatever. It's who cares, to be honest. Especially in this game, it really doesn't seem like you need to engage with the rune arc system all that much. It's just whatever. A lot of people forget they even exist. But especially for invaders, you can't really use a rune arc when you're in invasions. I know Mohg's Great Rune has some sort of interaction with invasions that I'm not fully sure I understand. I think it lets the NPC or lets the enemies in the world deal bleed damage or something like that. I don't understand it fully, to be honest. But regardless, rune arcs aren't really helpful for invaders as well. You can sell these items for a little bit of runes at least, but you really have to stack up a ton of them for it to actually mean anything. And speaking of runes, you pretty much get nothing in terms of runes for killing a host. This has always been the case for From Software games. You get a percentage of the player that you killed, their next level up. You get a percentage of what it would cost them, and it's not a big percentage either. At rune level 65, which is what I'm doing most of my invasions at right now, I'm getting 2k runes per player kill, around that, give or take, which is not a lot, obviously, to say the least. There are so many better ways to get runes in this game through farming methods that are just objectively better, way through the roof. So as it stands currently, there is no really big reward for invaders for doing anything. You don't get a lot of runes. The items you get are pretty much worthless for the most part, especially for invaders. And there's no covenants in the game anymore either, so there's no unique reward for doing any of this. And I think this is super easy to fix. It is super duper easy to fix this problem, and you can actually go back into a previous FromSoft title to have this problem fixed. In our good friend Dark Souls 2, I'm a huge Dark Souls 2 fan. I'm a Dark Souls 2 stan, if you will. I'll point out the game's flaws for sure, but I will ogle about that game another day. But one thing the game did really well was incentivizing players to engage in invasions. One of the covenants in that game was known as the Bellkeepers, and the Bellkeepers were a PvP covenant based on territory defense, pretty much. You would wear a certain item, and you would basically invade 2 locations in the game, and you'd automatically do it if players were in those areas. Now, the kicker here is obviously it was just standard invasion PvP, but the real thing here is the rewards made it very worth it to do. The rewards you would typically get from the Bellkeeper invasions were things like Titanite chunks, Titanite slabs, twinkling Titanite, I believe, and other weapon reinforcement materials. Basically stuff that players could always use or always make use of, regardless if they were a PvE character, a PvP character. Basically, Titanite shards were Dark Souls' version of smithing stones and somber smithing stones. And I think it is so easy to just make it so if you kill a player in this game via invasions, you should just get rewarded with a smithing stone, a somber smithing stone. Something to that degree. It is something that is both universally useful for players, regardless of, if you're a PvE build, a PvP build, whatever your sort of thing is. If a player who is mostly playing the game for its PvE hears that, oh, I can get weapon reinforcement materials, smithing stones from invasions, they might actually be interested in the system, as they might try to engage with it to be able to get some more upgrade materials to get themselves a little further ahead in the game. Also super useful for invaders or PvP players, because, we're oftentimes trying out a lot of different weapons, a lot of different combinations, and you need a lot of smithing stones to be able to upgrade all that stuff, upgrade all that gear. So this would definitely help cut out a bit of that grind. Additionally, they can just up the rune amount as well. There is no reason that killing a player in this game should net the low amount of runes that it does. I think it should personally be the next level that, the amount of runes someone needs for their next level. It should be that, but multiplied instead of a percentage of that. You could take that number and double it if you wanted to. And I think that should be the reward for what it is. It would make it far more worth for doing any of these things outside of just pretty much it being all intrinsic merit of just, I want to do invasions because they're fun. Additionally, you could add some sort of achievement or ranking system on top of it. Dark Souls 2, again, in the dual arenas, featured a little thing where if you won a certain amount of matches, the red glow you would have as a invading phantom would actually change. If you won a certain amount of dual arena duels, you would actually get a really cool, unique glow around you to show that you were dedicated to the system and you had grinded it out. And I think that's totally something they could implement in Elden Ring. Maybe if you win a certain amount of invasions, if you kill a certain amount of invaders, or hosts, you get like a cool glow. The glow maybe gets more and more intense as you kill more and more hosts. Maybe even further down the line, you could alter like your phantom color a little bit. To be honest, that would be a really cool system, being able to alter your phantom color just so it's not always red. But I understand there could be some problems there with, legibility from a new player perspective, being able to know, oh, is this actually an invading phantom? They're not the color red, so I guess they're not. But I think there's another way you could definitely make it easy for players to understand that someone's an invader, right? Not just based on the color of their phantom glow or whatever. I'm just throwing a couple of things out there, but these are ways that the other games made it far more worth to actually engage in the invasion system and the PvP system. And currently, to recap, like I said, in PvP or in Elden Ring, there is no reason to engage in invasions outside of just you want to do them. And I think that's so sad. I think so many new players, especially with how many new players are in this game playing From Software games for the first time, they're potentially missing out on one of the coolest systems in the entire game, in the entire franchise. There are so few games out there that have invasions as a system. So it is just such a unique aspect of the game that many players are going to pass up because there's simply no reason to do it, and it's totally understandable. There is no reason to do it. There are better ways to farm runes. There's better ways to get Furrow Calling Finger Remedies. There's better ways to get rune arcs. There is no reason currently to do invasions other than you just want to do them. What do you guys think, though? That was just me tackling one of the issues I have with invasions. I have plenty of other issues as well. We could get down to the balance of the game, definitely. But I didn't want to cover that in this video, especially since the video is already 14 minutes long. And I don't want to sit here and talk your head off too much about it. But what do you guys think? What would you do to fix the system that we currently have in the game? Would you do something that I would do? Would you do something else entirely? Let me know in the comments. Additionally, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, encourages me to make more videos, and I appreciate it a whole lot. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.